that proposes a change in the structure of the local income tax to be effective 1/1/2022. Tonight's purpose is to conduct a public hearing on the proposed changes and for the county council to decide if they are willing to adopt those proposed changes. If those changes are adopted, we will forward those changes to the entire county tax council for consideration. And I'd just like to highlight a few things here. The proposal will not change the income tax rate that the Grant County residents pay on their taxable income. The proposed change will redistribute the income tax dollars in the following manner. The tax dollars that currently go to the general fund of the county, the townships, the cities, and towns, and the libraries will be reduced. There is no impact on the Public School Corporation General Fund. The entire amount of the general fund reductions will be receipted directly into a public safety access point fund to operate central dispatch. Grant County, the city of Marion, the city of Gas City, and the city of Jonesboro would no longer make the payments from their general funds that are required by the current contracts. The county council's rationale for the proposed change includes the following points. Central dispatch benefits all Grant County citizens and all local government units in the county. It is reasonable to expect everyone to contribute toward the cost of this crucial service. It is important for everyone that central dispatch operations are adequately funded. The current funding structure is proving to be inadequate. Upon approval of the proposed change, all governmental units in the county will contribute toward the cost of central dispatch operations without increasing taxes to the Grant County citizens. Now, you should have received a schedule of the view of impact. If you would, Mr. McClure, just might inform us on that schedule.
Okay, and you've kind of hit the highlights actually, but the schedule you have, and there are copies on the table back there if they aren't all taken. Bottom line is the schedule kind of shows you what the 2022 revenue into the various governmental units general funds will be. And that's, the total is $14,896,053. You see the total at the bottom, that's all units combined. And it's prorated on the formula that's used by the state of Indiana to dictate that amount. Then the columns that are to the right of that column will show you the impact of the proposed change. It shows in the first column there the 2022 dollars that will go to the general funds of the various units. And that total is $13,521,033. With that difference being $1,375,020. $1,375,020 would go to the public safety fund that Shane referenced earlier. And you can see the third column says total 2022 distribution. That total is $14,896,053, which is the same as the 2022 distribution at the far left. So you can see there's no increase, no impact on the total dollars being collected by the change. The next column, which would be the second one from the right, shows the increase or decrease in the distributions to the various units. Obviously, the big increase would be the PSAP fund getting the $1,375,020, and you'll see the various numbers and brackets. Those are the lost revenue, the amount that would be reduced from the general funds of the various units. And in the far right-hand column shows what's currently being contributed from the general funds of the Grant County government, City of Marion, City of Gas City, and the City of Jonesboro. That totals $1,157,500. If you look at the difference between what would be generated with the change versus what's there now, the difference would be $217,520. So the change would generate $217,520 more into that PSAP fund than currently goes there. So that kind of highlights the change that we're talking about.
Thank you, Mr. McCord.
Sure.
At this time, I will open the floor to the members of the council for questions or comments.
What are the alternatives to doing what we're about to do to generate, revenue to support central dispatch?
If you want to be tax neutral, I'm not sure there's any alternative.
I understand.
Okay, the other alternatives would be that if you don't make the change, that's proposed, the county would fund the entire difference that's needed if there is a, if you decide to increase the dollars going to that purpose. And obviously you can decide, no, we're gonna stick at the 1,157,500. That's an option you have to consider. But if you decide to go higher than that, then either you're gonna pay for it, or you're gonna have to maybe go back to the various cities involved and see if they want to renegotiate a contract and go higher than they're paying currently.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. McCord, I've been asked the question of, is this money going to go toward the towers and repairing the building and some of the problems that we've run into in the county in administering this? And you've told us at our meeting, but I'd like you to reiterate it, that this is just for the ongoing operations, nothing up to repair or to get it into operation at this point.
Right, good question. And yeah, this is for the operations of the center, not for the redoing the facility. This is for salaries, benefits. There could be supplies for the office, you know, for the center, those kind of things, but it's operational, not capital.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burbach.
Wasn't there an option, and I'm not advocating for it, I just want to know what our options are, for like a public safety tax?
Well, this county council on its own could adopt a PSAP tax.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. You'd be increasing the income tax to the citizens. This body has indicated they want to keep the dollars neutral from the taxpayer standpoint, but you could choose to increase the income taxes that people pay and fund a separate PSAP tax up to a 10%, 10-cent tax.
So the alternatives here, put a fine point on it, is either redistribute what we have, which hurts some folks that we've heard about, or raise taxes.
Does the raising of taxes have any effect on the tax cap or on anything then?
No, the tax we're talking about is income tax.
Right.
Okay, and the income tax we're talking about does not affect the property tax because it's not part of the property tax relief income tax. It's called the certified shares portion of our income tax, and that just goes to the general funds, does not impact the property taxes at all.
But it would affect individual taxpayer paychecks and that kind of.
Yeah, when you file your return, if you're a resident of Grant County in January, when you file your return for the next year, whatever your taxable income is, you'd be paying that rate. So if you increase the rate, the taxpayer that pays income taxes on being a resident in Grant County, they would pay that increase.
And if we were to adopt this resolution tonight, am I correct, it doesn't immediately enact this change, all it does is, I shouldn't say all, it's a pretty big all, but it sends it to the tax council for consideration.
Yes, every city and town council in the county, as well as the county council, has a prorated share of the population they represent. And if they would vote in favor, that percentage goes toward the yes vote. If you vote no, it goes toward the no percentage. And you have to have, I think our resolution says 51%, more than half. So you got to have more than half of the vote.
This would be our vote on the tax council.
That's correct. Whatever action you take tonight, if you decide to send this to the tax council, that records to Grant County as a yes vote for this change. Then it's up to others to consider that. And they would have once you take your action, my office will send that notice out to all the units in the county, and they'll have 30 days from the day of that notice to have their meetings and go through their process of adopting a resolution or not adopting a resolution for that purpose.
And they could also initiate one and send it to the council.
They couldn't at this point. Once we've sent one, it's sent. And the only thing could be done is if you have something substantially different, I guess someone could initiate something substantially different than us.
Yeah.
They couldn't do one that's similar to this. First one to the table that's similar gets the chance to be considered.
But if they had a better idea, they could.
Yeah, if there's something totally, different enough, whatever different enough is, then they can
Well,
initiate that.
It can't involve the PSAP. You have to find another way besides the PSAP in which to get there.
Thank you.
So, do you mind if I say one thing? I guess that one of the things that we discussed, going way back is the state has changed the way that they give the counties money. And every time we keep hearing as a county council and as local government, if we don't have certain things in place, they could or do reduce our share of the pot from the state. So part of, just as the public thing is why we're thinking about doing this is it gets us another one of those unfortunate small taxes, but it doesn't raise taxes to the people to get us to point to the state where they say, okay, if this county has that gets them one more check mark in the box to get them money. So, I mean, people keep asking those questions like, why don't you have public safety? Why don't you have wheel tax? Why don't you have this? Well, there's a point where we've taxed ourselves to death. We know that already, but we have a shrinking number of people living here. And we have to keep paying the things that we do. So that means we're going to pay a little bit more to keep the same benefits of our government. So if that helps to explain why I guess I'm leaning towards that, that would be where I'm at.
Thank you, Mr. Levy. Any other comments or questions from the members?
You want me to just kind of highlight what our total tax rate is at this point, income tax? I could just kind of highlight that for the people in case they aren't aware. And we've talked about that in our meetings, but our current income tax rate is 2.55%, okay? 1% goes strictly to property tax relief, okay? And in 2021, 12,300,000 went toward reducing property taxes for people in Grant County. Most of it to homesteads, 90% of it actually. 10% goes to the other classes of property. Then we have the 0.25% economic development portion, and that money goes to the county, cities and towns, and the growth council. Those are the entities that get that money, and that total for 2021 is $3,082,000. Okay, then we have what we were talking about tonight, the certified shares piece. That is 1.3%. And that money is shared on a prorated basis by the county, the townships, the cities and towns, and the libraries. And that total for the year of 2021 is 16,030,000 plus. Okay, and so our total dollars in income taxes that come in for all those sources and reasons, 31,445,000. Okay, that was the total for 2021. And one thing I guess I want to mention to you, because I have some units, I know we've had some feedback from libraries that are not happy about it. The way the certified shares is done, and that's what we're talking about with the proposed change, you can't decide who gets to pay toward that total. The formula dictates all the entities that are involved with that share. So if we decide to change that, it does affect everybody that gets that money. We can't exclude some and include some, just so we understand that. Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. McCourt. Again, this time the floor is open for the members, questions or comments. If there's no other questions or comments from the members, at this time, we will conduct the public comment portion of the hearing. If you're in attendance online, you will also be allowed to make comments from that platform. And we'll start with the ones that are online, which I don't think I see any.
Looks like we have a window popped up on our feed here that may block that.
Is Marcus here?
He's on, is he online? Looks like he's online.
Please come to the podium and state your name and address. And remember, we want to keep the comments non-repetitive. And the limit of time will be 3 minutes or less. At this time, go ahead and come to the podium.
My name is Rex Maynard. I live at 312 East 12th Street in Jonesboro. I disagree with what you guys got in mind. I'm a 30-year fireman. I'm a district chairman for the Indiana Volunteer Fire Association. I go around to different counties. I talk to these firemen because my county starts from here to Sheraton, Cicero, over to Pell, Anderson, up this way. I knew the central dispatch was gonna come in line. For the last 7 years, I've been asking questions. How do you pay for your central? How do you pay to get your radios updated? And the way you guys did it for the last 40 years in this county, you band-aided everything. And that's why the radio system in the situation is now. I feel like the way you guys want to do it tonight, you're taking away money from Peter to pay Paul. Or you can furnish the 911 system over there, central dispatch. If you would do it right, like all other counties do, and I know you don't want to raise taxes, but you need to do it. And most of them have a .01 or 0.2 or whatever they need to get that amount of money to cover central dispatch. And I know we're going after grant, we probably won't get it again. And in this money, this is how they get their 800 radio. And then if another phase of radio comes in 8, 10 years down the road, there's enough money in that system, if you guys leave it alone, they can furnish and buy a new radio. Because I've been asking this question, how they get new radios, how you guys are doing it. And this is the way other counties doing it. And I think you need to put this on the table and go back and think what you guys are doing and do your homework, because I don't think you did it.
Thank you.
Deborah Kane, 4622 South Carey Street, President Millsworth and Grant County, council members, good evening. I'm here to express my unhappiness from the Marion City Council with the resolution before us tonight. It was less than 2 years ago that your body entered into an agreement for central dispatch with the city of Marion. Marion was needing to shore up a police station dispatch, and Marion's Chief Haley came before this body to ask for the city's fair share of the 9/11 dollars that the state statute gives the city right to have. Our chief was told no by the president, Jim Work at the time, and now our county auditor, and to come back with a plan for central dispatch if we wanted that money. Mayor Jess Oliver also then tried to get the 9/11 money that was due by the state statute, and once again was unsuccessful. We were told that the county was not interested in bailing out Marion. As other entities were given pay raises, increasing their budget, Marion made the tough decisions and was tightening the belt, so to speak, by improving our financial state. We are looking at reductions in property taxes and revenue in general, and now you're wanting to break our contract with the city of Marion and require more funds? Do you want to force Marion to make even tougher calls by possibly reduction in staff that may cause reduction in first responders, and that affects the county as well? The county chose the location. The county chose the consultant. Marion was already operating off of the existing towers. The county decided to erect 3 new towers. We, in good faith, went into this agreement, but let it not be forgotten that Marion was operating our own dispatch and was doing it well. It was stated that the state would be mandating a central dispatch at some point, but no one knew the time or when. But again, we were assured multiple times that the $464,000 given yearly to the county was and agreed upon contractually for 10 years would be what it was needed to join the central dispatch. If the county council will go back and look at the minutes of the public meeting as to what Marion pays city central dispatch, we paid our contractual obligations as outlined in the ordinance/contract that has been in place for 2 years and is set for the next 8. The funds from Marion cannot be moved without the city council approval. The only way our agreement can be modified is by our vote of approval or withdrawal of the agreement or contract. So to use an earlier phrase that was stated to Marion City now applies today. Simply put, Marion is not interested in bailing out the county. Thank you for your time.
My name is Ruth Ann Sumter. I live at 809 McAllen Drive, Marion, Indiana, which I'm proud to do, live in Marion, Grant County, Indiana. I am the president of the Marion Public Library, and therefore it's my privilege to get to speak with you tonight. I'm kind of old-fashioned in some ways in that I still subscribe to the Chronicle Tribune and the News Herald. And it's kind of ironic, I believe, that in this Tuesday's newspaper, I love the comic page and Dear Abby and Billy Graham. It was ironic that the Billy Graham column quoted Luke, and I would like to share that quote with you. And there went great multitudes with him, and he turned and said unto them, If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. And whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he hath sufficient to finish it? Lest haply, after he hath laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, all that behold it begin to mock him. Luke. For 15 years, I was an active member of the Marion Rotary Club, and at every meeting, we recited the four-way test. And the four-way test says, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? We have all heard the saying about chickens coming home to roost. Well, you are not wanting the chickens to come home to roost. You are wanting to keep them from their normal roosting spot and put it out on the other entities involved with this tax situation. Does that meet the four-way test? It's not fair to all concerned, and it will not be beneficial to all concerned. You all should have received an email from the library that contained a letter from the trustees of the library. And if you read that, you know our stand on what this would do to the Marion Public Library. Not good. I have heard that a few years ago, when Marion was facing financial problems, Mr. McWhirter said that the county was not going to bail out Marion. Yet, he was the one who sent out the letter to all these other entities that their rightful local income tax share was going to be reduced in order to bail out the county.
Ma'am,
Does that meet the four-way test?
your
I
time's
think
up.
not. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Bryce Corey, I'm the Center Township trustee. Our office is at 428 South Washington Street, Suite 231. There was comments about this will not have consequences. It will have consequences, not in the way that you guys said, but we've already submitted our budgets, and this could hurt us in township assistance, cemetery maintenance, fire protection with the Center Township Fire Department, noxious weeds enforcement. During the recent COVID epidemic, our office has seen costs, as has the Center Township Volunteer Fire Department, go up, and probably every government entity in Grant County has also. These additional costs were not foreseen during the budget process before it happened. Our office has not received any COVID-related money such as CARES Act money, but some government entities have or will receive. We applied by letter asking for some CARES Act money for our Center Township Fire Department to purchase a washer and dryer to clean and dry their bunker gear, pants, hoods, and masks. Although the amount of money that is proposed to be taken from us is small, about $11,000, it is big to us. I am asking each person to vote no to decrease the lit amount for the government entities in Grant County. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dana Melton. My address is 3837 South, 800 West in Swayze. I believe you all have received letters from both my board and possibly myself. Coincidentally, I was a 911 dispatcher for the city of Marion from 92 to 95, so I can understand both sides of it. I am currently the director of the Swayze Public Library. Mr. McWhorter said $217,000 would go to support the 911 dispatch center. However, my view is that that's $217,000 less that is used by the cities, the townships, and the libraries to serve the citizens of Grant County. Our local town cannot afford to pay retirement for our local marshal. We have streets that are not taken care of because we just don't have the money. And here we go, taking more. The 911 dispatch center has been talked about for a long time. And I know that previously the city of Marion, the Grant County Sheriff's Department, and Marion General Hospital supported the payrolls of these people. Where has that money gone? Did they cut their budgets or did they keep the money? And why is it now up to the smaller communities and the libraries to have payroll for these people? You talked about the fact that we would need to raise the county tax. Well, the payroll withholding was increased last year. Where's that money going? As far as the small towns and the library goes, we need that money. We really do. If you start getting into our pockets, when will it stop? Next year, you need more money for central dispatch, so you take more from us. I don't understand why these large, non-governmental, nonprofits pay nothing into these. We have a lot of non-governmental, nonprofits in this community who also benefit from 911. And are they paying into this? Why is there not a user fee for them? Please understand that this is not money that needs to go to support something. It's already supporting us. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the council. My name is Julie Flores. I live at 1041 Branch Court in Gas City, Indiana. I am here this evening as a controller for the city of Marion to speak against the county council's proposed changes in the local income tax structure. The city of Marion's current 10-year contract requires that the city contribute $464,000 a year from our general fund to support central dispatch. Under your proposal, the city will no longer make that contribution. However, $546,835 will be withheld from the certified shares that we received. So in essence, we are paying $84,835 more. So that the columns that you see on your paper are not completely accurate. It is not accurate, excuse me, Mr. McWhorter. It doesn't show the additional 84,000.
You just have to do the math. You just have to do the math to get there.
Sure. So, so our 2022 certified shares without your proposal are already going to be reduced $404,000 less than the certified shares that we received in 2021. So with your proposal, our certified shares in 2022 will be $951,611 less than what we are currently receiving. Nearly $1 million lost in our general fund, just from the get-go. For the Department of Local Government Finance, an anticipated additional circuit breaker loss in 2022 for the city of Marion is $251,611 more than 2021. The additional anticipated circuit breaker loss in 2022 for the county is $82,480. So the additional circuit breaker loss to the city of Marion in 2022 is nearly 2.5% more than the impact the circuit breaker has on the county. While the memorandum from President Millsworth and Auditor McGort state that all governmental units in the county contributing toward the cost of central dispatch operations without increasing income taxes to Grant County citizens, sounds like a win for the citizens. The citizens, however, will undoubtedly suffer because of the city's inability to provide the services they are accustomed to receiving currently. In closing, with these anticipated losses in revenue and the addition of the impact that your proposal will have on the city of Marion, we cannot support the change that you are proposing in the local income tax structure. Therefore, I respectfully ask that you reconsider your proposal of the change in the local income tax structure. Thank you for your time this evening.
Good evening. Just Allenball, 4003 South Felton Street, Marion, Indiana, and also 301 South Branson Street, Marion, Indiana, because I come in two forms, citizen and mayor of the city of Marion. And you guys are facing a tough decision tonight. I'm going to keep this simple. I was always told to keep it simple, stupid, and that's what we'll do tonight. You have a chance to get this right. Spike Lee said a long time ago, do the right thing. You have a chance tonight to do what's right for all of Grant County, or you can focus on doing what's right for you as a government. I hope you'll choose the higher road to do what's right for all of Grant County, because I think that's the right thing to do.
Kevin Hicks, Interim Director, Grant County Central Dispatch 302 South Washington. It's been alluded to tonight that not everybody contributes to the PSAP, and that is correct. If we do the income tax that is being proposed, anybody who works or lives in Grant County will contribute to that fund and help pay for the services they receive. While we can't do anything about the people who don't live or don't work here, getting a little bit more from them would make it possible. Funding from the Indiana 911 and other sources is never guaranteed, but Grant County has suffered for many years from not receiving the total amount of money that has been put into the 911 system. This set amount is with no change in sight to this amount, or the percentage would have to come from state legislature. While looking to the future of what this tax could do, this 911 fund system in the county moving forward. Current funding mechanism is set to expire in 8 years. This funding mechanism was not a permanent solution to keep the staff and the technology up to date. The county needs to look to the future to keep Grant County 911 up and running. Thank you.
Are there any wants online? Again, I just want to give adequate time if anyone wants to make a comment, or feel free to do so. Just come up to the podium and state your name and address, and keep the time like 3 minutes.
Bob Jackson, Grant County Emergency Management Director. Also live 6078 Fairmount Avenue, Jonesboro, Indiana. As your county EMA director, and I've worked with Kevin and the past director in the dispatch area. Just like to clear up maybe a couple misconceptions that were mentioned here tonight. And I know nobody is technically against it. It's public safety. We get it. And I'm not here to pull anybody's heartstrings. But also as a board member, as president of the board that oversees Central Dispatch, I can assure you in the city of Marion has several, at least 3 representatives on that board, as does Gas City and the county. We are doing everything we can to live within our means and be as efficient and effective as we can. I don't have an answer for how to pay for it. I wish I did. I don't. However, I do understand, and I am very well aware that it is not equally distributed across the county. Not everybody is paying their fair share, yet everybody benefits equally in the event that they have a need for that. And we're going to continue to provide that as best we can, no question. We are looking at, and we have looked at several counties, Wayne County being the one that is closest in match to what Grant County has in population, and land mass, and call volume, and all those kind of things. So we are right in line. We're actually operating a little bit less than what they do. We're doing it with less personnel, which is a major strain. But we collectively, as a community, cannot let this fall into disrepair, or disrepair is probably not the right word. But we need to operate as efficiently, effectively as we can. Embrace technology as it comes along. There are things we're looking at down the road to hopefully decrease the cost, the operating costs for dispatch. But there again, all of that requires some funds. That's my 2 cents. I appreciate and really admire the courage you had just to tackle this. However it comes out, I know it's not easy to sit there and do that, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, this is the public comment portion, and I want to give adequate time for that to take place. Mr. Stevenson, is it reasonable to close the
I think it would be an appropriate time to close, yes, sir.
This time, I'll go ahead and close the public comment portion, and I'll go ahead and open it up to the members.
Well, one thing I'd like to say, I think there's a misconception here. I heard more than one person step up and say, basically, you shouldn't do what you guys want to do. But don't assume that just because it's being considered that we want to do it. This is up for a vote. So just putting it up for a vote is not, it's not that we want to do it. It's just being considered. I feel like I'm guilty until proven innocent. So just because it's being considered doesn't mean anything other than it's being thrown out there to be considered and reasoned over, which is what we're all doing. And I very much appreciate members of the public stepping forward and speaking about their views on this proposal.
Go ahead, Mr. Ward.
Thank you. I want to thank all who came to the microphone. I appreciate hearing from Billy Graham and the four-way test from Rotary and a whole bunch of Book of Luke and all that. I appreciate everything that's been said. I understand where you're coming from. I think we've done a great job of getting the administration and city council to agree on something. That's something we've accomplished tonight. So I congratulate us on that. I agree with Mr. Connor that we're putting this out there. If there's a better plan, then bring it to us. If it's just to raise taxes to the taxpayer, none of us wanted to do that at our meeting. We haven't heard from taxpayers saying, yeah, raise my taxes, but maybe one or two. But I think there's a lot of people that don't want that. So we're still looking for an answer. We don't feel like we have the answer. And I appreciate hearing from all of you. Thank you for coming.
I guess I'll go ahead and make a few comments. The conception of the idea of central dispatch has always had one goal in mind, and it was to reduce the time that a 911 call would happen, as far as someone would call 911 and that call before the central dispatch would be transferred and possibly dropped, and to reduce those minutes or seconds, was life savings. And I know that we can't put a number on what those seconds cost, but I'm pretty sure if you're calling 911, those seconds matter to each and every one of you. When we combined, there was a cost savings factor involved with the city of Marion, the city of Gas City, and the county. And even though we all are in that cost savings, the county in turn used their cost savings to fund the renovation project of the building. And today, the general fund of Grant County has went above and beyond what the other units have contributed. We've roughly paid out of our general fund over $600,000 in additional cost to fund the PSAP Center. And I want to say that even though the city of Marion may look like they're losing the $80,000, you got to go back to see what their savings was when we combined. And I believe it was somewhere, today I went back through my old notes and I tried to find that number. And I want to say it was between $130,000 to $200,000 of savings. Their HR was before was $630,000. The agreement was $464,000, which equaled a savings to them of $166,000. And then when we combined, we increased their salaries to match the rest of the county's salaries, which increased to a $70,000 increase. So the total savings for Marion with the consultant was $236,000. So we can't forget that, we all have saved some. We intend, used our savings to fund the projects. The other part I want to mention is, as far as call volume, the city of Marion has 62% of the call CAD volume, and that's a big number when the county has 32%. And I feel like that we all need to have that team approach. And I feel like when they say that the city council says that they don't need a bailout, they're not bailing us out, I don't feel like that team approach is being used here. And that's too bad, because we're all in this together.
Is
there any other comments?
I have a couple additional comments. There was and you may have alluded to this, Mr. President, but one of the other purposes for central dispatch was not just to save time, but to save money. Because we had some overlapping services, we had dispatches in different places. And it makes sense to have one central dispatch, not only to save time on 911 calls and responses, but to save money because you have duplicative employees and that sort of thing. The other thing I wanted to point out too is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think our choices are this. Adopt the proposal tonight. We don't do that. Raise taxes by establishing a PSAP tax to support central dispatch. Or a third choice, do nothing. And don't pay for the ongoing costs of central dispatch, which in my mind sounds a lot like defunding, slowly defunding central dispatch. Not good choices. I can say proudly that my record on the council is unblemished. I have never voted for a tax increase. The only time I've ever voted for a change, it was for a decrease. I'm proud of that record. If we vote against this proposal tonight, then I may be put in a position where I'm going to have to break my record and vote to raise a PSAP, enact PSAP tax. Or the third choice, which I think is not very good at all, slowly defund central dispatch. This is very difficult. We're talking not just dollars and cents, but human hearts stop beating. So it's not, it definitely is a hard choice for me.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. Any other comments or questions from the members?
And whatever happens tonight, as far as passing, not passing, it still goes to the next step if we do pass something. So there's plenty of other boards that you can make sure it gets turned down. It's not like this is a one and done. But what Mr. Connor's alluding to is we're going to be kicking the can down the road to next year. We're going to be in the same boat, I think. So.
Any other questions or comments from the members? At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman. I made the motion at the original meeting. I think the points that have been made are good. The original idea was to advance it to see what other people thought. We've heard that. I think it still needs to go to a public vote of that tax council and let them decide. I think Mr. Connor's right, there are no good options, but central dispatch is a good option. So I would be glad to hear if there's a better way to fund this thing. Let us know. I've already heard from some people. I'm glad to hear from you. Thank you for coming tonight, but I'm going to make a motion to advance this, whatever that correct wording.
Resolution number.
Do you have some help with me?
What's the number? 2.
Resolution number 2, 2021, that we approved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion from Mr. Rohrbach, a second from Mr. Lemming to approve resolution number 2, 2021. Mr. Stevenson, will you allow public comment on this too?
I'm sorry?
Will we need to take public comment again?
No, you do not.
Is there any questions or comments from the members? Roll call, please.
Mr. Scott is absent. Mr. Connor.
No.
Mr. Rohrbach.
Aye.
Mr. Hicks.
Yes.
Mr. Poland,
Aye.
Mr. Lemming,
Yes.
Mr. Middlesworth,
Yes.
5-1 in favor.
Motion is approved. So that will go to the tax council.
Can I have the document with you and I will sign?
Okay, thank you. Let's take a 5-minute recess.
They might say, "Okay, for the longest, they're there."
We'll call the meeting back to order. We'll continue the budget process. The first department before us this evening is the Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Thank you. I'm John Lytle, the director of the CBB, and with me tonight are our commission chair Nancy Bender and my coworker Paula Schultz. So they hid behind the post over there because they're fashion.
I don't know how many people I've heard say that needs taken out, but I think the building.
I don't think we want to take it out.
Who's the reason it's still?
Well, we're coming to you tonight, basically requesting the same budget that we've had the previous 2 years, $518,000. We made some slight adjustments within the budget line items. We reduced the dues and the meals a little bit, and then we increased our office account, our line 6,300. And the reason we did that is that our computer is more than 5 years old that's used in Paula's office, and we really think it's getting close to its last leg, so we'd like to move ahead probably and replace that. The bulk of our money continues to be spent on marketing and promotion of the Grant County events and tourism activities. As we've shared in the past, we're always very careful to control our expenses through the year, and so that our expenses will never increase, and they have never increased our income, the annual income. We had some issues there 2 years ago and last year with the COVID and the lack of traveling, but we made the adjustments accordingly by reducing some of our expenses. So
Can you, sorry to interrupt you, but can you inform the council on how this fund is funded by? Sure. Income?
yeah, when the county body set this up, I believe it was back in the 80s, 84, 86, they established an innkeeper's tax, and at the time it was, I believe, 4%. So it really doesn't come out of anybody's pocket except those who are staying in a lodging facility in Grant County. And then somewhere along the way, it was raised to 5%. And that is collected and remitted by the hotels, the bed and breakfast. Even the universities that have conference centers are supposed to do the same. Now, what has changed some in the last year is that with so many Airbnbs and VRBOs and that kind of thing, it's actually a felony if a lodging facility does not collect and remit this. But we're not the ones that can bring those charges. That has to come out of the prosecutor's office. So the state legislature did establish a mechanism then so that any of these facilities can remit their tax then to the state, and then they in turn send that back to the county treasurer. The treasurer in turn sends it to us. So there is a way to make it work. It's just, there was a period of time we could sort of police it, but now we don't even have a good handle on who in the county is renting rooms.
And this budget will fall within your estimated.
That's correct. That is correct.
We know the current fund balance is.
197,350.
We operate, once I came in, at my request, we reduced the executive director to a part-time position. So we operate then with 1.5 staff.
Any, other questions or comments regarding the convention and visitors fund request? Will we take action on category one?
But yeah, you can do all categories and it's okay.
Make a motion to approve the budget of the Convention and Visitors Bureau as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Connor, a second from Mr. Lemming to approve the convention and visitors, used to be called Bureau, right? Or not? Tourism, 1127.
Yeah, our fund is the Convention and Visitors Bureau Fund, is what we call the fund.
We typically just call ourselves the Visitors Bureau.
Okay. Categories 1, 2, and 3 as requested. Any other questions or comments regarding this one? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good evening. The next item before us this evening is Carry Services.
That's right. Council President, members of the council, thank you so much. My name is Jim Albaugh, President and CEO for Carry Services, and I'm here on behalf of our nearly 200 employees that work here in Grant County and the more than 450 families that we serve here in this community, anywhere from prenatal mothers through kiddos in our early Head Start program, birth to age 3, and then folks of all ages with several different types of disabilities here to support that community of citizens here in Grant County. So I am here tonight, and I know that you've received my initial request, or at least my updated request after the growth quotient came before the county. So my request tonight for that community intellectual disability financial assistance support is $142,354, and that does include the 4.3% growth quotient that Auditor Whitworth sent me that information on. So definitely here for questions. I'm very thankful in the past for your support of the meaningful things that we're doing for this community here in Grant County, and would ask for your funding for 2022.
Is there any questions or comments regarding Carry Services?
Just curious, in your page 2 here.
Yeah.
How do you plan on wiping out that negative number?
So these are some of the cost centers that we operate here. We have some other programs as well that we operate that offset some of those losses. And so that's part of why we're coming before you tonight, is that you help us to offset some of the losses in these key programs: transportation, supported employment, and then the adult day services programs that we run there at our campus there across from Lowe's.
Mr. McCord, can you go describe how this is outside of the levy?
Okay, the state system, the DLGF, as they review our budget, allows us, because of the statute that's in place, to levy this tax, but it does not impact your cap as far as remember the 4 funds that are capped at a growth factor of 4.3%, general, reassessment, health, and Hume Bridge. Those are allowed to have that growth even though you allow this levy. So this is allowed on top of what your amount is. Joe and I had a meeting to just kind of discuss that recently too, how that works and the impact and so forth.
And I appreciate your time.
You're welcome. It was a good conversation.
Thank you. Is there any other questions or comments?
I will just note this too. What he's asking for, what we generally given, throughout the years with the growth factor, is a lot less than the maximum that the state would allow. So understand that. We had a good conversation about that and the impact of it. So,
and I'm not coming for you for the maximum at all. Understanding the conversation that just happened and living in this county myself, I understand.
Just so you know, I think I'm not with the paper with them. It's like 800 and some thousand is the most that could. It's a lot. I got the sheet here someplace, but it's 800 and some thousand plus that he could technically ask. Doesn't mean you have to grant it, but he could.
I just remember years past, you always approved that.
That's what we've done, and he understands what we've done over the years.
Does he get to go to Marion and ask for money?
What's that?
Does he get to go to Marion and ask for money?
Not that I'm aware.
No,
Well, good luck with that.
no, we don't. I did recently ask to vacate 27th Street.
Oh.
There was no funding attached to that, so we're back, we paid for that.
Oh, really?
It's task.
Go ahead, Mr. Rohrbach.
I want to thank you for Carry Services for a long history of relationship with that organization back to your former director and you. I appreciate what you've done to improve the look on the bypass, really nice.
Yeah.
And I think more people will know what you do now. And I just want to encourage you and thank you for the good fiscal record of your organization as well. So thank you.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that.
I'm glad to see you still here, because I remember a live stream long time ago. So I'm glad to see you back and doing the things you're doing. It makes my heart feel good.
And thank you, it really is a mission, what our organization is doing, and it's my personal mission too, for sure.
That was another very tough.
Yes, indeed, I recall those days.
Yes.
If there's no other questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion.
I move approval as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Rohrbach, a second from Mr. Lemmy, to approve the 2022 Community Intellectual Disability Fund Assistant Request from Carry Services with the requested amount of $142,354, which includes the 4.3% growth quota. Any other questions or comments from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you so much, I appreciate your time, and appreciate your time earlier with the things you're working through, and definitely this request, thank you.
Thank you. Next department before us this evening is weights and measures. Good evening.
So, hopefully I'm not the only one that I'm bringing you a budget that is less than last year's. The budget is essentially the same. I requested $1,000 less in the repair and maintenance on the vehicle because the county was good enough to get us a new vehicle this year. Now also, that $1,000, we may not need that much. If we need to cut that down, I just wanted to sort of have some kind of consistency moving forward. Other than that, there are no changes.
Move approval as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Rohrbach, a second from Mr. Lemmy to approve the weights and measures budget, categories 2, 3, and 4 as requested.
Can you amend it to give them merit of what we're asking for less?
I'm a taxpayer too. Do what you guys do.
Appreciate it.
We appreciate, you really use that whole vehicle to its max life, and, we hopefully you do the same with this one, I guess.
I will do, hopefully it will outlast me.
Is there any other questions or comments from the member? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Fleming. The next department before us this evening is the public defender. Mr. Elliott.
Good evening. Timing is everything. I wish I had not followed that. I'm not here asking for less. I know historically we don't spend much time on salaries this evening. I just want to update our budget request for next, or for 2022 is slightly different than 2021. There is a request for a 3% increase in our trial PDs. In addition, I am requesting the appointment or the ability to hire a new public defender or a new position. I think I've made that request since 2014, and we've been unable to do that thus far. Reason I've made that request is, as you've heard me drone on like a broken record over the years, we have numbers that we have to comply with the state of Indiana. If we're out of compliance, then we could lose our 40% reimbursement. And again, anything that the council agrees to fund and is funded, we will receive a 40% reimbursement in accordance with our agreement with the state. That would include any salary increases. So that's the long and the short on the increases on salaries.
Is there any question regarding the salary piece?
I don't have a question, but I'm going to speak up in support of Bruce's request on that. As you know, I had a very brief stint as a PD, and I saw firsthand, to the point of having a heart attack, how overworked they are. Their caseload is, unless you're an attorney, you cannot fathom how hard the job is and how swamped they are. This is not a request I take lightly.
And I appreciate that, Mr. Connor. One thing I did want to add is we, since 2014, after I took over for Bob Redmond, we were in full compliance until the end of 2019. In other words, every quarter we stayed within our numbers and where we were supposed to be. Since the last quarter of 2019, we've been out of compliance. We're not in number compliance thus far. The state has not prevented us our 40% reimbursement. I can tell you when this quarter ends, we'll have 7 quarters where we're out of compliance. And I can stand here and guarantee you our last quarter of this year will be out of compliance as well. We are, as Mike says, overworked. And I won't bore you with the numbers tonight. A lot of that goes right back to the CHINs, Child in Need of Services cases, and now we have a lot of termination of parental rights cases that we're dealing with. So that has really increased over the last couple of years. Our number of criminal appointments have increased across the board, whether it be trials or juvenile delinquencies or appeals, those have all increased. Now, I anticipate this year our appeals will be down because our trials have been down because of COVID. They're ramping back up, I can assure you that. So with that, I'll move on unless the council has other questions.
Yeah, one more question. Could you supply me with the documents that say that we're out of compliance? You just email to me, or?
Yeah, I'll be happy to bring those to whomever. Mr. McCourt gets to see them quarterly, and you'll see where we're out of compliance because on those documents that it's in bright red where we're out of compliance. But yeah, I'll be happy to do that. I know last year I was invited to come back to, I think someone had suggested I bring real numbers. I didn't know what that meant exactly, but I'll be happy to come back on another day, but I'll get you those.
If you order that,
reports. Yeah. Okay.
I know we get quarter reports by side off. I have to admit, Bruce, I really don't know the detail of what I'm looking at.
Sure.
So I didn't really know that there was something that says, hey, we are out of compliance at that point. So, I mean, that's not
No.
something I was aware of on the
Those,
report.
those red boxes would be the areas where we're, and what I'm saying there is, you'll see how much each attorney has worked over capacity. If it's a red box, that's signifying that attorney has received too many cases.
This now, if you have just one of them with the red box, I mean, the whole thing's out of compliance, or is it on an individual
No.
basis?
The whole thing's out of compliance, but it's not just one red box, is what I'm trying to impress upon you. It's,
In fairness to Jim, I wouldn't expect you to recognize that.
no,
I didn't expect me to either, but when I said that,
I
I
just
was,
wanted to say that.
but yes, I can
I
have
probably
those
should have.
available, for anybody that would like to see them. And they are a public record, so that's, the public can certainly come see them as well. Any other questions about salary? The next matters, supplies, we're asking for the same amount as 2021. The next line item, contractual services, we are asking for an increase in the amount of $2,820. And what is covered under that line item are 4 attorneys that we call super PDs. Our super PDs are the attorneys that do our appellate work. In addition, they are the ones that are assigned on murder cases. They are paid currently, I believe, $22,500. I'm asking for a 3% increase, and we had figured that at the $94,000 level. $4,000 of that 94 is for mental health, public defender work, which we do in circuit court. That public defender makes $4,000 a year. We're not asking to increase the mental health amount, just to add on to the super PDs, a total of $2,820 to be divided by those 4 attorneys. Any questions about that? Moving on, we have contractual chins and TPR attorneys, and that budget was $50,000 last year. Again, we're asking for that to be increased by 3%, for a total of $1,500. If that does occur, it's anticipated that I am one of the TPR chins attorneys. Tom Lawson and Jerry Druck are as well. I would anticipate dividing that $1,500 up between Mr. Lawson and Mr. Druck. The next line item, we're asking the same as 2021. Depositions and transcripts, again, we're asking the same amount as the previous year. Postage, we're asking the same amount. Travel and conference, we're asking the same amount. Training and education, we're asking again the same amount. Publications, we're asking for the same amount. Repair and maintenance, we're asking again for the same, yes, the same amount. We have an hourly investigator listed in part-time secretary. We are asking for a 3% increase from the budgeted amount from 2021. And I should say, on these contractual obligations, I have never asked for an increase since 2014. This is the first year that I've asked for that increase. And that's largely because we received information from the Public Defender Commission saying that if the prosecutor's office should receive a increase in their salaries, then Public Defender's office should be treated the same, and they should get an increase in contracts as well as the salary. So that's, again, why we're asking for that increase, and quite frankly, the super PDs and the welfare, TPR and CHIN's attorneys are woefully underpaid.
Bruce, I gotta ask you on that, I'm not sure I said it right. You mentioned it's a 3% increase over the current year budget?
Yes.
See, it depends what you look at, but you had, it's $5,500 was the original budget that was adopted. We had a transfer, looks like, to put 5,000 there to make it 10,005. To get from 10,005 to 12,000 is more than 3%.
Well, and that increase occurred as we're trying to electronically store all the files, and that's why there was an increase made. We made a lot of headway in that regard. So, so I think you're right. What I believe we did was factor that $5,000 transfer in, and then from there we asked for the 3% on top of that.
Yeah, if you go from 10,005 to 12, that's 14.3%. You'll see that.
Okay, well, maybe my finger was stuck on the calculator. I don't know, but and again, we're still working on trying to get everything caught up that hadn't been done, and that's why that budget stuff. Yeah, okay. That's why that line item has gone up. So malpractice insurance goes up every year for us, but I think we're going to be okay again with the 2021 budgeted amount. And then finally, same budgeted amount for equipment.
On the contractual services and the CHINs, and then you also said the investigator. And then you've got yourself down as that, you said Jerry and Tom, and I'm confused. If they're already on the public defender's list and we're paying them, why are we giving them extra money to do those other things?
That is our agreement, the county's agreement to get into the reimbursement program. We have an agreement with the county council, with the commissioners, with the judges, that was put together 2004, I believe, maybe a little later than that. And instead of
it seems like double dipping to me, and I've not seen that. That's all I'm asking.
Well, and that's what the agreement was, that instead of the attorney making, all 22.5 plus the 33 for being a trial attorney, everybody decided they'd do it by contract instead. They would pay a salary for the trial attorney, and there would be contractual amounts. Now, I think there's reasons for that. If they're paying that all in salary, there'd be a lot more perf money that the county would be responsible. I guarantee.
I guess I've been doing this a long time on just different costs.
I guarantee you this, I would think all the attorneys would love to have that come in as salary instead of contractual, but that is how this all got started. And we have kind of a hybrid program. This is not, our county doesn't do it exactly like every other county. So
we're getting good information to do like the breakdown. We do the units that are paid at somewhere else in the salary sheet.
The only thing I could provide to you is the 1099s that we issue.
Yeah, these are all paid
I
out of the
don't
same
know.
account. They're just part of the salary, part of it's contractual.
Yeah.
So you get a W-2 or a,
1099.
yeah, W-2 and 1099, you get both. Which is unusual. But that's the way it is.
Well, I think, that was agreed to by others, others before us, yeah. So,
I guess my question would be to the members, since we haven't dealt with raises and we're figuring a 3% raise, do you go ahead and pass category 3?
Well, you can, if you want to keep that what it is, then you'd have to amend that down to what it was prior. And then if you want to consider that later, you can always come back and add to it later if you chose to. You know what I'm saying? Am I clear? Okay.
No, 1099 form, they don't take taxes out on that. They have to pay that on their own.
There's no FICA and all
Yeah,
that.
there's nothing on that. If you take that and run it through a salary, then you gotta pay all that.
you get other benefits. If it's,
You're trading one for another.
Yeah.
At that point. Yeah.
that's the only reason I can see why that's how the system came into being. Somebody thought that was a better way to fund some of this. The good news is, whether it's contractual or salary, again, we get the 40% reimbursement. The county does. Now, personally, I have no problem about coming back and talking about those contractual positions and making the request for the 3%. I don't know if we can do that or not.
And again, you've said that you haven't requested those since 14.
Never, yeah.
It's kind of the local version of the military industrial complex, but it's the legal courthouse complex, and it's just the way it works. They didn't set it up.
Yeah, there have been rumblings from time to time for maybe looking at a different system. Most of those have come from the public defenders. So, I mean, again, we do have a hybrid type of system. This is not like every other county. I'd be happy to get further information about other systems if you'd like.
Any other questions or comments? If there's none, I entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I would make a motion to, pass the budget in categories 2, 3, and 4 at the 2021 until we at least get a chance to review the 3% and then come back to that, just so that we're all on the same page. I feel like I'm missing something on that.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Warbach to approve categories 2, 3, and 4 at the 2021 adopted budget levels, correct, within the public defender fund.
Okay, that was all those categories. Okay, so there are 3 changes in, I think, right?
4, I believe.
So 4?
94 and 50. So the category contractual services, contractual chins.
Right.
And then I thought deposition and transcripts in 2021 was 45,000.
It's 50.
It was 50.
There's been 5,000 transferred out.
Okay.
It was 50 start.
That was the one I was thinking. And then hourly investigators, that would be
So
3.
3.
Right. And I don't have a problem. It's only like, it's less than $10,000. I just like to know a little more about it.
So we're good with the request.
Mr. Lemming, what would you like to see from me on that?
Anything, just an email, just showing me, I mean, I actually have a appointment with Mrs. Rittman tomorrow. It'll be interesting. I'll have that conversation. See what she knows anything.
Okay. And then, I'll try to get, Mr. Millsworth those, quarterly copies. Anybody else want those, or should I just make enough for everybody?
Yeah, if you just email to me, I can get them to the members.
Very good.
Is there any other questions or comments from the members? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next department that'll be before us this evening is the treasurer's office. I recall she gave a letter.
Yeah, she is not gonna actually be here in person. Because of the change in schedule, she had some other conflict or something, I believe. But anyway, she has a letter sheet. It's included in your book. I think it's her budget. I think it's the same, pretty much, except for personnel. It is. It's all the same except for personnel.
I don't have to done her.
I gave you one last time.
What color was it?
Purple.
That's right. It's right here. It looks. Angie, do you know if her hourly rates that she's shown on the yellow sheet, are they the same as 21, or have those rates been changed?
They were.
They are the same?
Yeah. Yep, same.
Okay.
There's no really request as far as, she did increase the part-time overtime. And the hourly rates are the same, is that?
Yes.
Is there any questions on the salary piece? If not, it looks like categories 2, 3, and 4 have remained unchanged. Any questions or comments?
Move approval of accounts 2, 3, and 4. Second.
We don't have to suspend any rules or anything.
No, you're okay. You're okay.
I have a motion from Mr. Rohrbach, a second from Mr. Connor to approve the treasurer's request in categories 2, 3, and 4 as requested. Any other questions or comments? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next department before us is the auditor.
Where the heck he is.
Yeah, let's see now.
He's not here either.
Pull the damn knives out of my back first.
Yeah, I was gonna come in.
Whatever, I'm ticked. Okay, if you don't know. All right, what I have for you tonight is salary, wages. I've got in here are $2,000 increases for full-time positions. That would equate to 4.3 to 7.2%, depending on what the current salaries are. Requested increase in the part-time wage rate, 6%. That's from $9.96 to $10.56 for an experienced, from $11.74 to $12.44 for the experienced position. That's what we currently have filled. And also I'm keeping the same positions within the same funds as they're paid for 2022 as they are in 21. No change there. Any questions on that part? Okay. The general fund, Department 0002. Those are all the same except one account. The software support account has been decreased from 174,000 down to 125,000. That's a decrease of 49,000, and that's because we've paid off the new software payment with Loud we have for financial software, so that goes away. So that's the only change in that. So it's a reduction.
Is there any questions or comments regarding the auditors?
I want to go back to the meeting compensation. Who's that go to?
Sitting over there at that table.
And how much is it?
Is it $50 per meeting? Yeah, 50 per meeting.
Huh?
$50 per meeting.
And you're not asking for more after these 4 nights?
We do it every year. No, I'm not asking for more, but
If you look, they've got a little jar that says temp squawking.
Yeah, yeah, we should allow that.
Any other questions or comments from the members?
Make a motion to approve the auditor's budget as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Connor, a second from Mr. Lane to approve within the auditors budget categories 2, 3, and 4 as requested. Any other questions or comments?
With great appreciation for all of your folks, Jim.
yeah, thank you. And every day, confident as I am.
You know better.
Are you sure this Lamborghini is?
Check it out. Hey, if you want to speed it, check it out. Go for it. My turn to shine, Raymond.
Call for the question.
That's what he told you to take off.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
That's why I don't get so much power to on my own to say no to somebody.
We know how to add that one into that.
Hot book fund.
Flat book fund, everything is the same except for the personnel piece. And I have 3 people that have a portion of their salary paid from that account, so they would be increased according to what I've requested. But the categories 2 and 3 are the same. Personnel, the only change would be, like I say, as if personnel salaries are increased.
Motion to approve with the exception of the salary portion.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Connor, a second from Mr. Lemming to approve the Hot book fund categories 2 and 3 as requested. Any other questions or comments? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Ineligible homestead.
Eligible homestead, again, that is, everything is the same in accounts 2, 3, and 4, those categories. The only changes in the salaries piece and the related, perf and so forth have changed. But, the only change there is I have 1 person in the staff that is paid in that fund. And if whatever salary increases we're gonna do, they would go into that one.
And then you're requesting the part-time wages increase.
Yeah, those part-time wages flow across I've got really just 2 positions that affect. And at this time, no one's paid from that account. That's part-time. So the rates are shown there, but we don't have to pay anybody part-time from that account.
Any other questions or comments?
Make a motion to accept as presented as category 2, 3, and 4.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Connor to approve the eligible homestead categories 2, 3, and 4 as requested. Any other questions or comments from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The motion carries. The next fund before us this evening is the council's budget.
The council, you can see I've increased the supply line from 300 to 500. The other changes would be the carry services and the Grant Blackbird accounts are in these. You can see those are bumped up based on what's already been approved. The dispatch loan, principal and interest, those would be different based on what the actual payments that we see coming due in 2022 are. So those are changed. And we did include the equipment lease that communication, the tower equipment that we were leasing, the department's general fund payment is right here, so that's included in this budget that wasn't there last year.
Is that,
Dues and subscription, we bumped it up from 6,000 to 6,200 also.
is that just to track the lease or?
Pardon me?
As far as including that in the council's budget, is that just to track it?
No, it's not to track it. I mean, this budget will fund that part of it. You know, right now, that's split between 9/11 fund and this fund. So this is the general fund's share of that, as we've done so far. I think included in your packets, the amortization schedule with those as well, I think. Well, maybe you don't have it all in yours. You got the amortization schedule for the loan is in there. You can see, I will point out, the balloon payment you have coming due out of that loan is due in let's see. Yeah, December of 24, so just make sure you're thinking about that. Still some time down the road. But that amortization schedule is there. The, I do have in my notes here, but you don't have a copy in your file, but the lease payment schedule for that tower equipment doesn't pay off until December of 30, so I mean, there's still a long time left. The line where it shows 81,000 in the general fund there, that's part of that lease that doesn't pay off until December of 2030. And I think, Chuck, you mentioned interest yesterday, we were talking about that. Right, now see the interest in 2021, it's like 35,002, roughly. Right. Okay, it's 31,800 next year. Okay.
Are there any questions regarding the council budget categories 2 and 3?
I did increase your, the salary line, I didn't mention that. I did bump that up, not only what you wanted to do, but I had put enough there to cover a $2,000 increase for each of you. So obviously, I'm not sure what you'll handle, what you do with that one, but it's in there for you to consider at some point whenever you're ready for salaries. You see the amount went from 35,000 to 49,000.
There's no other questions or comments. I'd entertain a motion.
President, I make a motion to accept categories 2 and 3, yeah, 7%.
I have a motion for Mr. Lemming, a second for Mr. Higgs to approve the council's budget categories 2 and 3 as requested. Any other questions or comments? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now to lit.
Yeah, it's the seeded fund, it's, you know, we call it lit there. The change there, I did bump up, the amount we were putting toward the group insurance from 1,386,000 to 1,486,000. And I kept the line for the dues to the East Central Indiana group the same, 14,000. That seems to be enough to carry it at this point. So I put it there. And so the total budget for that fund that we had before you is 1,000,005 instead of 1,000,004. And we do have the cash balance and the revenue to support that.
I would say there's a possibility that I serve on the ECI Regional Planning Board, and there is a possibility that that's based on per capita. What rate per capita per person. So there, the new census, there's nothing saying that couldn't be lower. I don't really, I haven't heard the numbers, but.
Yeah, and of course, if it does, we won't spend it. That'll be some extra there. And obviously, it's still been a little more than we needed up to this point anyway, but I wanted the cushion there just in case.
Question on the insurance fund. What's the balance we have in that? I think you gave it to us.
Yeah, it's over 4 million, I'm sure. Well, it's between 4 and 5 million probably. I don't know exactly.
It was pretty healthy.
Oh, yeah, it's healthy.
5.578
As of when?
How much?
as of today.
As of today, okay. 5.5.
So we had to raise it $100,000.
Well, keep this in mind. We're not putting more into the fund than we have been. It's just, if we put 100,000 more here, that's 100,000 less than the general. Different funds contribute dollars to the 7 million that goes into the insurance fund. We're putting 7 million into the insurance fund, and that's not changing. That's staying the same. Okay, but I'm putting 100,000 more into that fund out of this fund, so that's 100,000 less than the general fund will have to pay. Okay, so we're not putting more into the fund. It's just which pocket it's coming from. Okay, and this fund, based on its balance, all we can afford that, so that's what we're doing. Helps your general fund balance by $100,000. Boils down to.
Can we go ahead and approve this fund?
Yeah, you can. And we already really approved the insurance fund last night too, but yeah, you can do this whole fund. That was part of the funding of the 7 million.
Any other questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Connor, second from Mr. Fleming to approve the seated fund of categories 1 and 3 as presented. Any other questions or comments? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Let me just mention one thing too. It doesn't affect what we just did. Just wanted you to be aware. The actual dollars, this is funded by the local income tax that we get for that purpose. We had used an estimate of 1,340,263 as revenue. We're actually gonna get 1,311,000, so it's about 29,000 less than we thought. Based on we're making an estimate, and I used 2019's money as my estimate. It became a little bit less than that when the state gave us its information earlier this month. So anyway, it's still good compared to what we had. So I mean, it's not a problem with the budget. Okay, we'll have operating balance. We should have about let's see, 137 plus thousand left in that fund at the end of 2022. Okay.
Next fund is the debt service fund.
Okay, debt service fund, what you have here is, of course, it's all debt payments, principal and interest. And this reflects two debts that we're paying. 2017 facility improvement bond that we did in 2017, that was an $8,505,000 bond. This pays the principal interest coming due in that, and that doesn't pay off until, let's see, the year is December of 36 is when that pays off, December of 36. Okay, so that's when that pays off. It was a 20-year bond. And then you're also paying out of that fund the loan or the principal and interest on a loan that was taken out in July of 13. It was a $2 million loan. That pays off in December of 23. So 2 years from this December is when that one pays off. You're paying $229,000 a year on that one. And the debt for the bond we're going to pay this coming year is $460,000 for the year. So that's what you need to approve for those two debts for 2022. So this will be an entire fund.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Warbach, a second from Mr. Connor to approve the debt service fund categories.
It's all category 3.
Yeah, I'm looking at the fund number.
As requested, any other questions or comments? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Rainy day fund, we have nothing in there. I mean, we have a balance, we're not, there's nothing budgeted.
We could take action.
Nothing, I mean, really nothing to act on this. So it's just information there. The last one is the elected official training fund. That's set aside for certain positions. And I kept the budget the same in 2022 as we had in 21. Did not change it.
This is general fund dollars?
No, this is a totally separate fund, Fund 1217. It's a separate fund on its own. Comes, fees come into that.
Has to go to state meeting.
If these officials have some training that they need to pay for and so forth, we want to take it out of this fund before it goes to the general fund. There's not been very much, you can see not much of what comes out of it. There's some, but not too much.
I move approval.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Rohrbach, a second from Mr. Connor to approve the county elected officials training fund category 3 as requested. Any other questions or comments? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I think that's the last one.
I think the easy one's done.
Yeah.
True.
Shane, I'll put all my notes together too. I know you've been working, I'll put my notes together and get those to you as far as things that are still pending. And we'll also, Angie will work on a 4B that'll show you numbers as if you did no salary changes. Everything that's in place now would be in place in 22 to see what your difference is and what different changes might cost you, so you can take a look at that as we get to the next stage.
Thank you.
I have a question on the ordinance that we passed, ordinance number, resolution number 2. Where does that go next and when?
Well, tomorrow, Phil and I will be in conversation about the correspondence we're gonna send out to the cities and towns. So a copy of that ordinance will be with that information we send out to them and telling them you have 30 days to consider this. And so that'll go to those units. All the cities and towns will get that.
So you never do have a meeting, they just vote by getting it in.
Yeah, we just give them information. Obviously, if you guys want to contact them and meet with them and all those kind of things, you can do that. But my office just sends out the information informing them of this body's action and a copy of what they need to reconsider.
So the commissioners never talk to them, they don't get together with the mayors.
It's up to them.
That's just the way, it's not a tax council that has a meeting.
Yeah, there's no formal meeting that gets scheduled. I mean, I agree, it makes sense, it'd be nice to have something like that.
Well, it doesn't make for good communication.
I agree.
Or for working
Yeah,
together.
I agree. I mean, but I think that's one of those things where you could, this body could invite some kind of meeting like that to take place, or you can invite yourselves or offer to meet with them. to
We'll let
discuss.
you do that, Mr.
Thank you.
McCormick, thank you.
Yeah. I'm gonna be welcome to do this, I'm sure, especially at City of Marion's office, yeah.
Yeah, so, and if they never respond, then it dies.
Yeah, if they don't let us know, I mean, they wouldn't have to take a vote. It just is, I mean, they wouldn't be voting in favor of it.
And how long does that go to?
They have 30 days, from the date we notify them, they have 30 days to get their action done.
And if they don't pass it, it dies.
Yeah, if they don't pass it, they won't inform me. Those that pass it should inform me that they did, and I'll compile those, and if we have more than half of the voters represented to pass it, then I send it to the state for their action.
No vote is like a
No.
dying for lack of a second.
Yeah, but I'm saying, if they kill it, do we have to come back and raise taxes?
Yeah, so that would be when we know at our September meeting,
No, you won't know that until
October.
it'll be the end of September before you would know. You would know before October, I mean.
But I'm saying we'd have to come back and raise taxes. See?
Well, either that or your general fund. You get two things. Either you don't do anything to raise it, and you just let them live within that budget they've got available to them, the 1,157,500. That's an option you have. Or if you think you're gonna give them more money, that means it comes out of your general fund, you're gonna give them more than your 511,000.
And we wouldn't have time in October to raise that piece up for next year.
Well, it wouldn't be effective 1/1. You could not do it in time to be effective 1/1.
Now, when this is gonna come back to roost is for 23, right?
Well, I mean, it depends what you do in 22. It's gonna come back to roost to you in 22. If you give them more money, it's gonna cost you more money in 22.
Okay.
Okay. You can take your action on your own to raise the taxes for the PSAP, but I believe if it doesn't get to the state before October 31st, which I don't think you can now, you won't have time, it would be effective probably if you did it after, if you notified the state after November 1st or after October 31st, I believe you can have it effective October 1 of 22 if you wanted to. You could do it so it could be effective in October 1 instead of January 1.
Of 23.
Yeah, you could do something, I believe you could do something for October 1 of 22 instead of 1/1 of 23 if you wanted to.
And, I mean, it appears if we're gonna raise any money, that's what it has to be.
And then you'd have to consider, what's the ramifications? Will those cities then end their payments to you? They're bound to make at this point. Marion's paying 464,000, Gas City 180,000. Well, if you do that, will they stop what they're gonna do contractually? Will they, and I'm not saying they can, but the language has a question, and we aren't certain. Would they be able to say, hey, since you've got the PSAP tax, we aren't now obligated to pay you anything out of our general funds? You'd have to go through that. You have to look at that, I think, and make sure where you stand.
Unless there's a great outbreak of unity and cooperation that would come.
Yeah, you heard that tonight.
Yeah.
A lot of teamwork effort.
I just want to reiterate that we appreciate all your office has done throughout this process.
Yes.
We thank you for all the hard work we know that goes into these books and all the figures and numbers. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
We believe in them, regardless of what.
And our next regular meeting is September
15th.
Is there any other questions or comments? It will be adjourned.
So Jim, if you go over to the city building,
When you
stop
take
by
our
the sheriff's
books,
department and get you a vest.
will you take the books?
That's what it's just, it's unbelievable.
They're for you to keep.
Yes. Actually,
Are we gonna need them again in October?
They ain't bailing you out.
Huh?
They ain't bailing you out.
I'm not asking you to.
I got enough to get you out. I got it.
I just, like, I'm the one that said no. I mean, it wasn't the vote of this council, it's Jim McCord that, you guys didn't come to my defense at all. I didn't get that right.
I wasn't here.
I appreciate it. And then I get it, and I say,
Can we leave these with you
and I
guys?
get told this is wrong.
Are you
That's
done
not
with it?
I didn't go to college,
Well,
you might have wanted, but she did the bachelor's.
I just want to use it.
It's correct.
Yeah, you can leave it
It
there.
was just a personal attack.
Yeah, well,
I just
my
leave it here.
buddies were the personal attack. I don't deserve that.
Go up to the city. Tell them I'm your.
I never even had anything to it.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
No, nothing.
Well, I tell you what's ridiculous.
If I do,
I didn't wanna
it'll
get into that.
come to you next month.